ready? Are you all ready? Please have your seats. Today is going to be an amazing day. Feel comfortable. There are protocols around the room. If you need any help, you can reach out to them. We'll begin very shortly. Ladies and gentlemen, it is with great pleasure that I would like to announce the arrival of our respected guests. May you please stand and join me in welcoming them. Announce the arrival of our guest of honor today, Her Excellency Mrs. Jeannette Kagame, the First Lady of the Republic of Rwanda. Please rise up and join me to welcome her. Your Excellency, Mrs. Jeannette Kagame, the First Lady of the Republic of Rwanda and the Chairperson of Imbuto Foundation. Your Excellency, the First Lady of the Republic of Haiti, Martine Moïse. Your Excellency, the founder of the Wellbeing Foundation, Toyin Sariki. Your Royal Highness, Sarah Zayed, the Princess of Jordan. Ladies and gentlemen, all distinguished guests, dear audience, good morning. Ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor and privilege to stand before great men and women who have traveled from all parts of the world to the land of 1,000 hills, not only to make history, but also to be the voice for the family planning movement. Put your hands together for making it. Taking you through this session, my name is Cynthia Dushime. I am a Global Health Corps Fellow at the Ministry of Health in the government of Rwanda. I'm 22 years old, and I'm privileged to be the master of your ceremony this morning. Pour ceux qui parlent français, je m'appelle Cynthia Dushime, j'ai 22 ans, je suis membre du corps de la santé globale au ministère de la Santé et je suis ravie d'être votre maîtresse de cérémonie ce matin. Murakaza neza mu Rwanda rwa Gasabo, soyez tous les bienvenus. I give you all once more a warm welcome to Rwanda, and most especially a warm welcome to this amazing morning session, the Women of Impact, Global Leaders Creating a Positive Change. Are we all ready to kick-start this session? I want to hear 100% energy in the room. Are we ready? Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, today's session is going to focus on women in leadership roles around the world, women who are agents of change in their communities and countries. Now the big question today is, how do we create a culture that empowers women to be positive disruptors? Ladies and gentlemen, Ralph Emerson once said, "Do not go where the path may lead, but instead, go where there is no path, so you may leave a trail. Ladies and gentlemen, the person I'm about to introduce to you is one that have left a trail and a mark in the lives of many. She's the epitome of a powerful family planning and an advocate of health adolescent. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together to welcome our keynote speaker today, Her Excellency Mrs. Jeannette Kagame, the First Lady of the Republic of Rwanda and the chairperson of Imbuto Foundation.
Thank you. Are we ready? Ma chère sœur, la première dame d'Haïti, Her Excellency Toyin Saraki, founder of the Well-Being Foundation, Your Royal Highness Princess Sarah Zaid of Jordan, distinguished chair of ICFP International Steering Committee, senior representatives of the Bill and Melinda Gates Institute for Population and Reproductive Health at the Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health, senior representatives of government and civil society, distinguished Family Planning 2020 reference group members, valued partners, youth delegates, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Thank you once again for the high honor of addressing this distinguished audience and the eminent panel of whom the theme Women of Impact is testimony to their daily work. They are indeed global leaders creating positive change for the well-being of their communities. We are heartened that you have chosen Rwanda to host the International Conference on Family Planning, which stands to enrich all our efforts in promoting quality access to family planning and sexual reproductive health services. Our path to delivering the much needed and sustainable change in our communities has been made more efficient thanks to the work of the United Nations together with our governments. Consequently, we are able to focus on our energies toward the achievement of all the SDGs with Goal 5 for gender equality and empowerment at the epicenter of this work. Indeed, this is in tandem with and response to Rwanda's national strategy for transformation. Honorable guests, since time immemorial, women have held roles that are vital, yet that have often been taken for granted in childbearing, nurturing, educating, feeding, and raising the world. Every so often, this comes with a heavy cost to their health and well-being. It's therefore logical that when providing with a conducive environment and truly empowered to voice their opinions, they thrive. We have seen women morph into strong, insightful, and intuitive key players able to effectively impact positive and lasting change around them. It behooves us, therefore, to use this and any powerful platform to encourage women's effort in order to promote and avail the life-altering, liberating family planning and sexual reproductive health services. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we are often called upon to become the face of diverse causes because the public sees in us our ability to multitask. In one stroke, we become the advocate, the catalyst, facilitator, applauder of others in their roles as we strive to hold ourselves and those around us accountable for the promises and actions we make. This is what women's leadership is about. We catalyze positive change, we lead without imposing. We face challenges head-on as natural leaders because our orientation from childhood is one of caregiving and oversight. Esteemed guests, if women leaders are indeed often recognized for leading with passion and purpose, for embodying change while staying authentic to their cause, imagine what happens in their absence. Imagine what happens when women leaders are not seated at the table, where decisions concerning entire communities are being made. Communities with whom they are inherently linked, communities they understand only too well. Indeed, let us all take a moment to imagine what would fill that void. Allow me to share with you two specific mechanisms that illustrate the development imprint left when principles of gender equality inform and permeate every area in society. My first example borrows from our National Gender Monitoring Office, or the GMO, whose mission is to effectively monitor gender mainstreaming in the fight against gender-based violence and all forms of injustice in public, private, civil society, and religious institutions for the achievement of gender equality in Rwanda. The second example I would like to share with you comes from the American 2020 Women on Boards organization, which commits to increase the percentage of women on US company boards to 20% or greater by the year 2020. In fact, the 2020 Women on Boards is guided by the following principles, which speak volumes for the need to encourage more women to embrace their leadership capabilities. And the principles affirm the following: we are inclusive, we are passionate, we are focused, we are change agents who do not promote business as usual, we are advocates, we are respectful, we are urgent in our activities, we are educators, we are ethical, we are believers, and together we can make it happen. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, this is why our women of impact come in. This is where you and I come in. Our collective knowledge, skill sets, vast and varied experiences will help us innovate, challenge the norms and standards that do not promote equality, and always find the best possible solutions which truly ensure that no one is left behind. I hope that the esteemed panel, as well as the audience, will offer candid contributions that will dare the uncharted path, go to places we have not been in these discussions, and which I truly believe will bring us closer to solving our common and individual challenges related to family planning and sexual reproductive health. Let us all walk away from this session satisfied that we have let no stone unturned, and that our ideas will solidly contribute to strengthening current intervention so that we are indeed, the women of impact, global leaders, creating the most positive of changes. Thank you indeed for your kind attention.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, for such a wonderful, inspiring, and stimulating speech. Ladies and gentlemen, how about another big round of applause for the wonderful keynote speech? Ladies and gentlemen, allow me now to introduce to you our panel moderator today, Dr. Alma Golden, the Deputy Assistant Administrator for the Bureau for Global Health, the U.S. Agency for International Development. Dr. Alma, please.
What a privilege to be here today. Thank you so much. Yesterday we learned a little bit about superpowers, and I think I've discovered a couple of the superpowers that Her Excellency Jeanette Kagame has. Thank you for your superpowers of vision and inspiration. The world has been watching Rwanda, and we've watched with a lot of admiration. You've set some wonderful standards. You've given us some great goals to set that we all can aspire to, and thank you for your words today. We appreciate it. I am Dr. Alma Golden, and it's my privilege to lead the Bureau for Global Health for the United States Agency for International Development as the Senior Deputy Assistant Administrator. And I'm very honored today to have the opportunity to be the moderator for this panel. And I'm going to introduce my panelists, who are an astounding group of philanthropists, leaders, and advocates. And so first of all, I'd like to invite them to come to the stage with me. And we have Her Excellency Miss Martine Moise, who is the First Lady of Haiti. And please welcome her. And Her Excellency, Her Highness, Princess Sarah Zayed from Jordan. Thank you so much. And then Her Excellency Tonyin Saraki from Nigeria, who is also the founder and CEO of Wellbeing Foundation in Nigeria. Thank you so much. And we just made an agreement just a few minutes ago in the prep room that we're going to use each other's first names so that we can, because we want this to be a comfortable and easy conversation. I'm going to tell you just a little bit about each one of them. They all, though, have quite a bit in common because they all really have been incredible advocates for women and families in their countries, and they've kind of each chosen specific areas that they focused on, and so I'll share a little bit about that. Her Excellency Martine Moise is an advocate for well-being for women and children, and I really like her motto for her office, and that is all for the children. And certainly family planning has a great deal to do with children. So she is very busy in that. She also is working on preventing violence against women and is an advocate for the most vulnerable. And I know just from doing a little bit of homework on her that she also is very concerned about issues around WASH, malaria, tuberculosis, and so thank you for your work on that. We look forward to hearing more. And then Her Royal Highness Princess Zayed is involved in many, many things, but her focus has really been on maternal and newborn health and on at-risk and particularly the refugee populations. And so she is currently a steering committee member for Every Newborn Action Plan and a patron for the White Ribbon Alliance for Safe Motherhood. She's also a board member for the Women's Refugee Committee and also member of the UNHCR Gender, Displacement and Protection Committee. So thank you very much for your work on that and many other things. And Her Excellency Tonyin Saraki has been the founder of the Wellbeing Foundation, and there was something in her bio about having worked in this for 20 years or more, and I thought, she looks way too young to have done that. But she's an advocate for the Millennium Development Goals, particularly around maternal and infant mortality. She served on the Global Foundation for the Elimination of Domestic Violence and the board of the Africa Justice Foundation. So we thank you very much for being here, and I am going to ask each one of you, and we'll just kind of go down the row, but the same question, and if you'd like, you can make your initial remarks at the podium, but the question is this: what is the one issue that you care about the most and why? Would you be so kind as to answer first, Martine?
Je ne sais pas trop comment le dire en français, mais depuis que je suis là, tout le monde le répète. All protocol observed. Alors je le dis. En tant que première dame de la République d'Haïti, Je suis ravie de participer à cette conférence internationale sur la planification familiale qui se tient environ un mois après la Journée internationale de la fille, le 11 octobre, qui est placée à juste titre cette année sous le thème « Avec elle, encourager l'instruction et la qualification professionnelle des filles ». En Haïti, les filles de 15 à 19 ans représentent 5% de la population. Il est presque unanimement reconnu que du progrès des filles dépend le progrès de tous. Il y va de soi également que l'avancement des adolescentes passe par le renforcement de leur capital humain avec ses deux composantes principales, l'éducation qui inclut également l'éducation à la sexualité intégrée et la santé. En Haïti, de nombreux efforts ont été consentis ces dernières années pour renforcer l'accès des filles à l'instruction afin qu'elles puissent développer les outils leur permettant d'accéder au marché de l'emploi, développer les ressources socio-émotionnelles devant leur permettre de s'adapter à un monde en constante mutation, de prendre des décisions importantes pour leur vie et leur avenir et contribuer au bien-être de leur communauté. Les récentes statistiques attestent ainsi que le pourcentage des femmes sans instruction a diminué depuis 2005 et 2006 pour passer de 23 à 13% en 2016. 51% des filles haïtiennes vont aujourd'hui à l'école secondaire contre 41% des garçons. Si Haïti a enregistré depuis bientôt une décennie de bons résultats en termes de scolarisation et de réduction des disparités de genre concernant l'accès à l'éducation, il reste encore du chemin à parcourir, notamment en ce qui concerne les filles vivant en milieu rural. Par ailleurs, l'abandon scolaire demeure une préoccupation importante chez les filles, due trop souvent à des grossesses non désirées. Une récente enquête sur la mortalité, la morbidité et l'utilisation des services réalisés à la demande du ministère de la Santé publique et de la population révèle que 13% des adolescentes avaient déjà eu leur premier rapport sexuel avant leur 15e anniversaire. 10% des femmes de 15 à 19 ans ont déjà commencé leur vie procréative. Parallèlement, même si l'ensemble des femmes interrogées affirment avoir déjà entendu parler d'au moins une méthode contraceptive, seulement 32% des femmes de 15 à 49 ans utilisaient une méthode moderne de contraception au moment de l'enquête. Et ce pourcentage passe à 8,1% pour les femmes âgées de 15 à 19 ans. 4% des femmes de 15 à 49 ans ont déclaré avoir eu recours à l'avortement au moins une fois dans leur vie. Ces chiffres traduisent la réalité de bien trop de jeunes, particulièrement des jeunes filles qui se retrouvent mères alors qu'elles sont elles-mêmes encore des enfants. Des jeunes filles qui ont subi des violences sexuelles. Des jeunes filles qui ont trop souvent abandonné leur étude pour des raisons de grossesse non désirées, ce qui contribue à alimenter le cycle de la pauvreté pour elles-mêmes et pour leur communauté. Ces chiffres démontrent qu'il y a également encore beaucoup trop de femmes, environ 38%, qui souhaiteraient utiliser une méthode contraceptive et qui n'y parviennent pas, soit parce qu'elles n'ont pas accès à une information suffisante ou qu'elles n'ont pas accès aux services adéquats. Chez les adolescents, ce taux passe à plus de 50%. La grossesse chez les adolescentes en Haïti me préoccupe au plus haut point, car elle reste l'un des principaux facteurs de mortalité de la mère et de l'enfant et contribue au cycle de la mauvaise santé et de la pauvreté. Les efforts en matière de planification ont donné des résultats ces 2 dernières décennies. Sur une période de 10 ans, soit de 1995 à 2017, la prévalence contraceptive est passée de 12 à 32% sur le territoire national. Mais ces progrès sont à renforcer, avec une emphase sur les adolescents et les adolescentes, qui ont moins tendance à utiliser une méthode contraceptive que leurs aînés. Nous avons un véritable chantier devant nous. Si nous voulons améliorer la santé des femmes et des filles de toutes les régions d'Haïti, nous nous devons donc de rechercher des solutions novatrices, notamment en renforçant les stratégies de proximité qui mettent l'accent sur les cliniques mobiles considérant un rôle accru des organisations communautaires devant permettre un meilleur accès aux populations reculées. Nous devons aussi développer une approche plus inclusive, permettant l'accès aux jeunes, notamment les plus vulnérables, aux services de santé sexuelle et reproductive, où ils seront accueillis avec bienveillance, où ils pourront être reçus sans être jugés, et ils pourront avoir accès à des informations complètes et des méthodes modernes de contraception. Il s'agit des filles, ces mesures, et s'agissant des filles, ces mesures les concernent car elles seront les femmes de demain. Nous nous devons de les soutenir en respectant leur droit de grandir, de s'épanouir et de faire leurs propres choix quant à leur avenir. Le progrès économique et social de nous tous en dépend. Merci.
Thank you, Martine. There are many great examples that you just gave in terms of how progress can be made. We appreciate that. Sarah, can I ask you to share? Thank you.
I'm obviously much shorter. Good morning, Excellency. It is a great honor to be here and to be included in this panel of extraordinary women. I love this question. What is the one issue you care about the most and why? For me, it's very simple. Women. Women whose lives have been affected by violence and conflict and who live in fragile settings. Women who are the first responders to shocks from climate, contagion, or conflict, and are the first line of defense for children, families, and communities. Women. Because when a woman decides, she decides not only for herself, but for her family, community, and country. Women. Because without women at the heart of everything we do, governments, international organizations, and within communities, with their health, dignity, well-being, and rights assured, development and growth will not be sustained, and there can be no lasting peace and security. In the past year, I have had the great privilege to work and travel with ICRC, UNHCR, and WFP, organizations on the front line of humanitarian assistance, working to serve and support the more than 134 million people in need of support and protection, 32 million of whom are women and girls of reproductive age. I have met women who did not know they were pregnant with twins until the delivery of their second baby. Grieving women and girls whose premature babies had died just hours before. Mothers, aunties, grandmothers with multiple malnourished children in their care, who themselves are surviving on one meager meal a day. 2 Syrian women living in an informal tented community of about 40,000 in northern Lebanon have stayed very much in my mind. The first, a married 19-year-old, pregnant with her 3rd child. The second had 4 children and an absent husband. The children were all very young, and only the 2-year-old was lively and full of mischievous activity. Her 5-year-old twins were emotionally unresponsive, and her infant son would not make eye contact or turn towards sound. Caring and providing for these babies and young children, and any more who might follow, are the core of these women's every day. It is done with minimal assistance, little support, and no hope. Without doubt, since 1990, great progress has been made reducing global mortality figures, with fewer maternal and child deaths than ever before. But for the ever-increasing number of women, girls, and their babies in sudden onset and protracted humanitarian crisis, progress is too slow, and it is uneven. In part because populations affected by violence and conflict are disproportionately vulnerable to multiple layers of burden and injustice, including child marriage. 9 out of the 10 countries with the highest child marriage rates are considered fragile or extremely fragile states. Malnutrition. 75% of the world's chronically malnourished children live in conflict-affected countries. Burden of disease. In the DRC, for example, women and girls account for approximately 60% of Ebola infections because of their traditional role as caretakers. Education. Girls are 2.5 times more likely to drop out of school in countries affected by conflict. Capacity and infrastructure. There is one doctor per almost 66,000 people in South Sudan. No trained surgeons operating outside Juba, the capital, and only 15% of births are attended by a trained healthcare worker. Gender-based violence and rape used as a weapon of war. Each of these exacerbates risks to women and girls, and in combination, they meld into an inescapable cycle of ill health, poverty, dependency, and death. It is no surprise that conflict-affected countries have amongst the highest levels of preventable maternal, child, neonatal mortality, morbidity, and stillbirths. To transform the promise of the global goals to leave no one behind into a reality, urgent, decisive, and sustained action is required across all sectors. This has to be our priority. The existing architecture is not working for women in the hardest of places and at the toughest of times. We know this. We have to change it. The specific reproductive health needs and vulnerabilities of women and girls are not prioritized, and they are not considered essential and life-saving. This is something we must act on. Long-term, predictable and flexible financing, multi-sectoral, integrated programming, addressing the entire continuum of care, sustained political and economic prioritization and support, and community leadership. We can make these happen. And to end as I began, women. Women are powerhouses of strength and determination. If women, and all she cares about and is responsible for, are fixed at the core without prejudice and judgment of everything we do, with their health, dignity, well-being, and rights assured, then there will be sustainable development growth, and then there will be peace and security. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sarah. That really illustrates so well why it's important that we keep doing what we're doing and do it even more, and solicit all these wonderful young people to help us with it as well. Toy and I was doing my snooping, and I have to tell you, talking about young people, on your website, there's this Mama Care and the Girls' Declaration. I love it. So I'm really looking forward to hearing from you now, too. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. And what I would say, I believe, is said here in Rwanda. First of all, I'd like to stand on existing protocols, but even though I do stand on existing protocols, I have to say a very, very big thank you to Her Excellency, Madame Jeannette Kagame, the First Lady of Rwanda, the land, I've just heard, of 1,000 hills, for hosting such an outstanding conference and for giving us such a warm welcome. I also have to say I feel very, very at home here. What can I say? First of all, it's a pleasure to be in Rwanda, and the pleasure is entirely mine because I am completely inspired by what Rwanda has done for its over 12 million people. This gives me inspiration to try harder in my own country and around the world. Bill Gates recently said the results in Rwanda show how a strong primary healthcare program can actually reap improved health outcomes. Rwanda raised its newborn survival rates by 30%, and I think they deserve a round of applause for that. Now, to ask me what I want, I think you can tell from the name of my foundation, the Wellbeing Foundation, what I want from every woman and for every child, and actually indeed for every citizen, is for everyone to be happy and to be healthy. And those are just two things, and they sound so simple. But to be happy and to be healthy actually requires a lot. It requires us to be born with rights. from the point of our birth, and for our governments to be able to recognize those rights and to be able to guarantee those rights. And I think those rights actually start not from our constitution, because our constitutions are a document that are a package of goals. Those rights actually start from being able to be registered at birth, to have a birth certificate. So I want every child to have a birth certificate. And I want each of those children that are being born to be born in a well-equipped health facility. I want that birth to be attended by a properly trained midwife and an obstetrician if the mum runs into complications. I want that mother to have approached that birth, having planned to have that child, wanting that child, and having had as many antenatal visits as she needed during her pregnancy so that she can be educated and informed about what's happening to her body to make her into an equal partner, not a beneficiary, an equal partner in realizing her health outcome. And even where she chooses to have that child, I don't want her to be one of the only 27 million women in my country who actually hold a bank account. I would love all 198 citizens to hold that bank account and have access to health insurance so that that woman has choice. And I would like her to be educated and enlightened enough to know that immunization is her best first investment in protecting the health of that child, and for her to be able to protect the nutritional status of that child by being able to put that child to her breast within the first hour and being able to breastfeed exclusively for the first year, because that would protect that child against the unsanitary conditions and the dirty water that are so prevalent in parts of our continent. And then, after that child is immunized and has actually been breastfed, I would like her to be able to put her savings towards being able to enroll her child in school, because we know that education and retention in education is one of the best investments to reap reward. And I wouldn't want that child to fall through a social safety gap. I would want that child to be invested for by parents into what we call the social safety net. So having been educated, I would want that child, if it was a girl, to be able to reach the age of 21 without having been circumcised against her will. I would like her to stay in school until she reaches tertiary education and not be married off as a child bride. And when she is getting married, I would hope that she would have actually had sexual and reproductive rights education so that she can make her own choice into marriage as an equal partner. And after marriage, I would like her to be able to choose when, where, how often to have her own children, so that the investments that have been made in her right from when she was born can begin to multiply. And that's what I call the dividend of democracy. And that's what I call the demographic dividend. And for me, that is what I call well-being. I don't know how difficult it is for the countries around the world to achieve this. But I think we all have to try to achieve this, because when we hear of the problems we have in the humanitarian settings, and we see the world come together to concentrate help to where it's needed most, we realize that in parts of Africa, and in parts of my own country, Nigeria, why we find it so difficult to be able to get help to where it's needed in crisis is because the general help across the nation isn't up to standard. So well-being to me is building the resilience to be able to have choice and rally the resources to where they need. And that's what I want for every citizen. Thank you.
Thank you so much. What an inspiration. And as a pediatrician, I have to tell you, I love hearing the life cycle perspective on this. I think it's absolutely critical. Her Excellency, well, Martine, okay. I have a couple of other questions for you, but first I'll just ask, I know you have worked in several maternal child health programs consistent with your logo of all the children. Can you give us a couple of stories about things that you've done or experienced where you feel like it's made a big difference? Thank you.
Quand mon mari est devenu président il y a de ça 2 ans, j'ai voulu travailler avec les enfants. Donc j'ai commencé et je me suis rendu compte que je ne savais même pas quelle quantité d'enfants il y avait dans le pays, ni même où ils se trouvaient. Donc j'ai commencé par les identifier. J'ai travaillé avec l'Office national d'identification, l'ONI, avec lequel j'ai monté un programme qui s'appelle Comptez-moi compter, qui veut dire enregistrez-moi, je suis important. Donc on a commencé à enregistrer les enfants à travers le pays. Et on a mis le système dans tous les hôpitaux pour que dès que la maman accouche, la maman ressort avec le certificat de naissance de l'enfant. Et chaque enfant maintenant a un numéro unique. Et à partir de ça, on peut bâtir des programmes sociaux, etc. Donc en commençant à travailler avec les enfants, je me suis rendu compte qu'il y a des enfants qui avaient des enfants. C'est comme ça que je suis passée de la petite enfance à la grossesse précoce. Donc, j'ai travaillé en étroite collaboration avec la direction de la famille du ministère de la Santé publique. Et avec eux, j'ai commencé à voir comment aider ces jeunes-là qui tombent enceintes, comment éviter. Parce que dans des villages entiers, vous voyez des enfants, tous les enfants 13-14 ans, chacun a 1 ou 2 enfants avec eux. Donc on a commencé à travailler dessus et on a distribué des intrants pour que ces enfants-là n'aient plus d'enfants. Mais on s'est buté à un problème. Parce qu'en Haïti, l'âge légal est différent de l'âge sexuel. Donc quand on a commencé, on s'est buté au fait qu'on ne pouvait pas parler aux enfants de moins de 18 ans parce que ce n'était pas permis, il fallait avoir un parent avec eux. Et ce n'est pas évident qu'un enfant va parler de sexe avec un parent, puisque en Haïti, le sexe est tabou. Donc, j'ai commencé là à travailler avec le ministère de la Planification pour qu'il puisse avoir un projet de loi et pour que maintenant l'âge sexuel puisse être soit entre 15 et 16 ans. Et de là, commencer à protéger les enfants, puisqu'il n'y aura plus d'enfants à naître précocement. Quand je dis précocement, des enfants qui ont des enfants, parce que là, les enfants, les adolescents vont pouvoir avoir les intrants à leur disposition. S'ils veulent aller dans un centre, ils le peuvent, puisque la loi va leur permettre. Donc, ils vont avoir les informations à portée de main. Mais maintenant, une fois que le projet de loi alors est prêt, il va falloir que j'ai le ministère à la condition féminine avec moi, le ministère de la Justice, le bureau des affaires sociales pour qu'on puisse faire un plaidoyer au niveau du Parlement. Parce que c'est le Parlement qui doit faire passer la loi. Et si la loi ne passe pas, ça va avoir des problèmes. Donc, entre femmes, on est forte, je sais qu'on va réussir. Donc, c'est pourquoi le slogan de mon bureau, c'est tout petit monio en créole, qui veut dire tout pour les enfants. Donc, pour protéger les enfants, il faut protéger les mères, il faut les protéger au niveau de la vaccination, au niveau de la nutrition, etc. Donc, je suis pour la petite enfance et je m'y mets à corps et âme. Merci.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you. That's a kind of vision and responsiveness that I think really does make a difference in terms of the lives of our children. Sarah, would you tell us a little bit more about your work in fragile settings, some of the stories you have there and some of the things you've seen, and I would appreciate that.
I'm going to get family planning specific. It seems like the appropriate place to do so. And really the moral of some of these examples is that I hope they help to illustrate some of the challenges, and also our need to always ask and to listen, to look beneath the obvious, and always be open to the unexpected. So just in this last year, in the Shatila Refugee Health Facility in Lebanon, I was told that long-term contraceptive use is very popular, but only for a couple of months. So a woman will have the long-term implant put in, but after 3 months decide that she's had enough contraceptive use and go and have it taken out again. Syrian women in Lebanon and Jordan with 6 or 7 or 8 children who already they can't look after, believing that they have to replace the population that has been lost to war. In Ka in Lebanon, a Syrian man, again in this informal tented community where they had 0 services, telling us that he had 13 children with 1 wife. She was a bit tired, and so he wanted to have more children but needed to find another wife to do so. I was deeply sympathetic. Look, and I've lost my page now, so I'm going to have to find it. In Kimoja in Uganda, a woman I had assumed was a grandmother caring for a malnourished child in a feeding center, was in fact the child's mother. And she had had 10 children and only 4 had survived. In Mvepi, Uganda, being asked by a group of women, a large group of women, can you tell us how to stop having babies? To tell them that my husband had moved to Geneva for 4 years was not the answer that they wanted. But in fact, what they really wanted was for their husbands to be engaged in the discussions and for them to be able to make the decisions about family planning as a couple. Yesterday in Gehembe camp here in Rwanda, I was told with great enthusiasm by the health official about services that were available at the larger local hospital, including vasectomies. And so I promptly asked how much uptake there was in vasectomies, and I'm looking at the men, and they started to laugh at me. So that was, again, it's this constantly looking below the surface. Services exist, are they being accessed? And finally, again, teenage boys wanting sex because they believe that it's going to help turn them into men and get rid of acne. Behavior change, information, understanding the reality of what people believe, and being sympathetic to their lived reality.
Thank you. And yes, now I can tell you that as a pediatrician, I've never seen that work for acne. Yes, that's right. But I think you raised a couple of very important questions, really across both, and that is the social norms and what is the anticipated role of the culture and tradition. And I have to acknowledge, I have had several conversations with not only youth but faith leaders, and I really believe that's an important leverage point for us all to use, is how we interact with our faith leaders and also with our youth to get their vision on that. And I know that's been an area you've worked on, Toyin, so share with us some stories as well about your work and your direction.
Okay, well, you started off by saying I've been trying to save lives of women and children in childbirth since, I think, 2004, formally, but even earlier than that. And what I would say is that each time I would find a program that I liked, I would try and put it into action, and I would pilot a program, for instance, the health records, or trying to teach women what to do, what to expect in their pregnancy, or try to advocate to doctors to treat a pregnant woman with more respect and actually listen to her. And I would have like a limited pocket of success. And my biggest challenges were 2 things: how to go to scale in the people that I was trying to help, and And secondly, how to make it sustainable so that when I leave, it continues. And I think what really was the huge game changer for me was actually taking from amongst the community that I was trying to help and making them the interlocutors. So in 2014, for instance, I became the global ambassador for the International Confederation of Midwives. And when I went back home, I thought, well, I can't just be talking about midwives. I employed midwives. And that was how the Mama Care program was born. So our midwives were going to existing primary health centers across Nigeria, and they were giving lessons to pregnant women. And because I had another program called Emergency Management of Obstetric and Newborn Complications, where we were using anatomical models, I bought extra models and I said, look, take it across to the lessons and also teach the women what the inside of their body looks like. And we had incredible success. Out of 280,000 mothers that we've taught, we haven't had a single death. And that's because a Mama Care mom, for instance, knows what her intact placenta looks like, because we've taught her with a model. So when she's delivered, she asks the nurse or the midwife, please show me my placenta. And she knows, for instance, that you're not supposed to tug the placenta out, that you sweep, and it comes out by itself. And the second thing that I invested in was endowing a youth charity called Wellbeing for Women Africa, which is based out of the UK, but it's for African voices. And I actually did this because of a curious incident I had. I went to university to talk to young girls. They wanted to hear about well-being. And I asked a question. I said, so tell me in this room, and there must have been 800 of them, what do you know about contraception? And not a single hand went up. I think the crowd was as big as this. And I asked the question again, frankly, what do you know about contraception? And not a hand went up. So I left the podium and I dived into the crowd and I said, look, come on, girls. Your first year of university, this is a dual-sex university, you have boys here. Are you really telling me that none of you knows anything about contraception? And when I became closer to them, they became braver. And they said, well, we know, but we don't know where to get it. Or, there's this other tablet which you take the morning after. And I said to them, ladies, I have to be frank with you. Having an unplanned child could be the beginning of the end of your ambitions for yourself. It's better for us to teach you what to use, the different options, where to get it without shame. And because of that, I actually endowed Wellbeing for Women Africa, where the voices, the young African voices, they speak for themselves. We give micro-grants, they write articles on issues that are very important, and they come and tackle me actually quite often on social media, because I'm a bit like a grandma now, but I like to think that there's room in the birth to age cycle for the grandmas to give advice as well. And then we went further and we developed what we call the adolescent personal, social, and health education, which for those of us who are quite global is a very standard thing in education, but it's not standard at home in Nigeria, where really you're told not to talk to the young ones about sex. And if we don't talk to you about sex, how can you protect yourself, first of all, from early sex and make sure that you're old enough? So this is why I believe that we have to harness the autonomy of the young ones and the health workers as interlocutors for the very people that we're trying to empower.
I agree. Thank you so much. One of the other conversations I've had around this particular issue is how, recognizing that young people really are impacted very deeply by the generation before them and the generation that they will bring into the world. Thinking about all of the activities we do, just like what you described, how you educate the students actually impacts not just one generation, but 3. And so I think it's a beautiful way to look at sustainability too. So it sounds like you're doing a wonderful job on that. I'd like to ask one more just quick question for each person, and then we're going to see if we can take a couple of written questions from either our virtual audience or the audience here. And so we will look for that. Next, though, I'd like to say, Ms. Martine, what do you think your biggest challenge is that you need youth and advocacy for in Haiti?
En Haïti, le sujet sexe, comme je l'ai dit tantôt, est un sujet tabou. Donc, ce serait encourager le plus de monde possible Quand je dis le plus de monde possible, je parle des gens qui ont à prendre les décisions. C'est de leur faire comprendre que même quand on ne parle pas de sexe, ça ne veut pas dire que ça s'en ira tout seul. Donc c'est pourquoi il y a beaucoup plus de filles qui tombent enceintes parce qu'elles n'ont pas accès aux informations ou elles n'ont pas accès aux intrants. Donc si on leur permettait d'avoir accès à ces intrants, à ces informations, je pense que le problème ne serait pas totalement résolu, mais au moins à moitié résolu, on aurait moins de grossesses non désirées.
Thank you. Good observation. Thank you. Sarah, particularly in terms of the fragile settings, what do you see our role as being advocates, and what issues can we help you address?
Oh, it's a big question. I want to see change at every single level, and it's not too much to ask. The needs are so enormous and growing. It really does take everybody to be involved, everybody to be thinking, everybody to be caring, everybody to be acting with urgency, again, at every single level, in every single sector. And starting with the architecture of how humanitarian funding is given, which at the moment is largely year by year. Again, reproductive health, women's health is not considered essential and life-saving. How can we change behavior and how can we look after the continuum of a girl and woman's needs if we're only looking at her life in a small slice and we're not even prioritizing it? So that's absolutely got to change. And the involvement of the community, empowerment of the community, everything has to come from the community. Community voices, community leadership, the ability to have information at the community level, all of these things, only that is going to change the way that we serve in humanitarian settings, that we have access in humanitarian settings. And then my last thing is again part of the architecture, which is an initiative on newborn health in humanitarian settings. This is a hugely neglected area, and so trying to create almost a superhighway that will move us towards reduction of preventable newborn mortality, morbidity, and stillbirths with a cross-sectoral effort that will lead us towards the shared objective of health and well-being for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We all have a big role to play, and there are many things to do. Toyin, you have big plans for the Wellbeing Foundation and how it impacts not only your country and Africa, but everybody. Tell us a little bit more about what's coming.
Well, really, what can I say? Since I saw that sending our midwives and our young ones straight to the primary health centers, which is the closest point of health to the communities I'm trying to help, I realized that there's hardly a goal that we want that cannot be dealt with at a primary health investment level, and that if we do invest in primary health, it gives us a platform to be able to push through everything else that we want to push through. I can't separate delivering primary health, for instance, from water, sanitation, and hygiene, or from the very dire indices that we're seeing in my country on open defecation. But I'm convinced, and I'm even more inspired by Rwanda, that if I make the big investment at this point in primary health, that I will be able to actually have an alternative infrastructure that brings not just health, education, beating the NCDs, female empowerment, community empowerment, a guaranteed job for health workers, health insurance, to my people. And that's why I've partnered DI Global and IntraHealth, and we are actually wanting to take 111 primary health care centers off the government and put together a brand new chain of healthcare centers. And I'm not talking about health for the poor. I'm talking about health for everyone. I've always said to anyone in Nigeria that you can choose health tourism if you're sitting at home and you're feeling fine. But if you were to have a road accident, and actually my country has the second highest road accidents in the world, you will be taken to the nearest health center. And more often than not, that is a primary health center. And if they are not fit for purpose, you're not going to live. So we're making this big investment in primary health, and cross fingers, it's the biggest investment I've ever made in my life, but I hope it works.
Congratulations, that's delightful. That's delightful. I want to see how we're doing on time. And do we have time for a couple of questions? Two questions. Okay, we have a little bit of permission. Do we have a question that would show up on the screen perhaps, and we'll see who, what we can do. Well, if we don't have them on the screen, let's take them out with a microphone. Okay, all right, right over here. All right, can you ask us your question, please? It's not working. Okay. Can we get another microphone?
There is a question on the screen.
Okay. Oh, and why don't we get that working? We'll have a question here from Matt in the USA. Women have made incredible progress in the economic, social, and political spheres, evidenced in this year's U.S. midterm elections. What do you think is the next big challenge facing women? Who would like to answer that one? There's a lot in that. Okay. Sarah, why don't you start?
Oh, thank you.
Oh, that's right.
Thank you. The rollback of women's rights, that there is tremendous pressure being exerted on women's health, women's rights, and women's voices. And thank you. Can you hear me? No. Rollback on women's rights. And women's voices are being stifled, and empowerment at the community level, women-led organizations, women-led initiatives, and these are areas that are under fire, and we need bold leadership. And action at the highest levels to stop this from happening.
That's an excellent response. I also want to mention that I think one of the challenges we have is to be leaders and mothers at the same time. And I think all of us have experienced that as well. And I wonder would you make a comment on that?
Yes, I think really to balance, well actually I don't know if balance is the word, to be able to attend and pay the right consideration to the work-life balance is really, really important. I also think that as more women take leadership in the political sphere and in the business sphere and even in health, I think it's really important that we learn that it's okay to compete with each other, but we should try to avoid contending with each other. You know, sometimes you see this cycle where one woman gets to the top and feels obliged to sort of appoint 4 men underneath her to show that she's not being soft. And I think that we should be able to help one another, but we also have to make sure that merit actually is what rises. Because if we feed into this thing about, okay, so I'm there and they've got a woman there, we need to begin to breed merit amongst the younger ones, amongst ourselves, and give each other our due respect. I'm really proud of what women are doing in Nigeria, in Ethiopia, here in Rwanda, and I think we need more women. It's a fantastic thing that this is an all-woman panel, for instance, which is quite rare, actually.
Martine.
En Haïti, il y a encore beaucoup d'efforts à faire, surtout au point de vue politique. Il y a très peu de femmes qui sont dans la politique. Par exemple, au niveau du Sénat, il y a seulement 1 femme. Et au niveau de la Chambre des députés, il y a seulement 2 femmes. Au niveau des droits des femmes, il y a beaucoup à faire parce que jusqu'à présent, il y a beaucoup de femmes qui sont battues. Bien entendu, il y a la justice qui fait son boulot, mais on ne devait pas encore avoir ces choses-là. Nous sommes au 21e siècle. Et puis les femmes en Haïti, elles travaillent beaucoup plus, parce qu'il leur faut faire 2 fois plus d'efforts pour obtenir la moitié de ce qu'un homme peut obtenir. Donc il y a beaucoup d'efforts à faire avec les femmes en Haïti.
Thank you so much. We're gonna, we actually have to stop, I understand, that we've run out of time. Is that correct? Can we take one more?
I think the mic's working.
Okay. Thank you so much. It's been such a privilege to be on the platform with these wonderful ladies. I have to tell you that I'm especially excited because USAID actually has relationships with all of your countries, and there's a lot of privilege and honor to be able to relate to you in that regard too. I know that this conversation could go on all afternoon, and I hope that as we have opportunities to converse through the remainder of the conference that we will actually get to share more and more ideas. So thank you so much for being part of the momentum of strengthening women's empowerment and the ability and health of families across the globe. Thank you very much.